All right, my babies. How are we today? All right, today's chapter is not about planning, but about identifying business analysis performance improvements. So this is beautiful because it's self-reflection. It's a psychopathic approach to self-reflection. Remember, what we're doing is we're turning something into a science. So effectively, when you're looking at yourself and how you're working, you're going to create the ability to measure certain parts of your performance, which is basically what reflection is, right? Like, how did I do? Did I do good? Did I do better? Can I do better? Can I do it more efficiently, effectively? And whatever we've learned so far, by the way, is applicable to anything we want in life, anything we approach in life, whether it is playing music. Business analysis is basically how, like Japanese would say, the way. Because ultimately, once you actually create a process that is able to iterate upon itself and reflect on its activities, then ultimately, with anything you do, you reach success slash mastery, and all that beautiful stuff. So, what's the purpose of identifying business analysis performance improvements? Is to assess business analysis work and to plan improved processes where required. Amazing. Description. To monitor and improve performance, it is necessary to establish the performance measures, the KPIs, key performance indexes. Conduct of the performance analysis, report on the results of the analysis, and identify any necessary preventive, corrective, or developmental actions. Now, I want you to consider as well, like reports, the way we report changes as we move forward. How we conduct performance analysis as well changes as we move forward. The establishment of the measures as we move forward, you might put more weight on certain measures. Like all of these are just basically genuinely like a reflection of you. Like you get to look at them and you get to basically be like, this seems to be more important. This triggers stakeholders differently. This stakeholders differently. This triggers the users. This triggers the management. This triggers the operations. Like you get to actually start going into deeper details. And I think that's the beauty of kind of like looking at what happened or what you're doing in order for you to kind of like productively get something out of it, other than whatever came out of it. So performance analysis should occur throughout an initiative, throughout the initiative, not when it's done. You can do it when it's done, but again, like you'd be taking about 10 to 20% of it. Like that's basically real life experience. Anytime you experience something in real life, if you don't sit with it and process it, you just basically get the end result, which is not what we really want. Once potential performance improvements are identified, they become guidelines for the next time a task is executed. You get it? So what we're doing is we're building upon our experience at smaller chunks so that the whole experience becomes a lot more valid. Let's say rich, a lot more rich. Inputs, what are the inputs for this? The business analysis approach, which is the plan that we do, the performance objectives, which are basically like external, describe the desired performance outcomes that the enterprise or organization is hoping to achieve. Right, it makes sense because you actually have goals. So like every single time you're doing something, you kind of like reflect how it's performing towards the goals that you're getting. And here, performance objectives, which is external, I highlight it. And the business analysis approach, which is basically what we studied in 3.1. Guidelines and tools, they didn't copy paste, but organizational performance standards. Because like some protocols of the organization, they might have something that you could actually use. And I'm sure you research as well. Identify business, your own organization and the organization you're working with, by the way, right? Like you get to kind of like explore how you can do things better for the sake of what the end result should look like. And the business analysis, the output is business analysis performance assessments. Amazing. And the tasks that use this output, look at this. The 3.1 plan business analysis approach, the stakeholder engagement, the business analysis governance, and the business analysis information management. That's why like iterating on top of things is amazing. Why? Because like as you're actually doing these tasks, you take some chunk of time to review performances. And while you do that, these tasks change because they take whatever assessment you got, and they do it differently. And at 4.5, managing stakeholder collaboration. Oof, I'm excited for the next chapter. Who is stakeholders? Like I said, I have good experience with stakeholders, but I also have horrible one, man. Horrible one. Some of them suck. So elements. What are the elements of what are the elements of performance? Performance analysis constitutes effective business analysis work, depends on the context of a particular organization's initiative. Again, like you're reflecting on how the organization would want to do things. And I don't know if I could use the word base case here, but ultimately they probably have in mind like timelines and shit like this. So I'm sure they're going to talk about this. Reports on business analysis performance can be informal and verbal, or they can include formal documentation. Reports on business analysis performance are designed and tailored to meet the needs of the various types of reviewers, stakeholders, my favorite kind of part of business analysis. Assessment measures. By the way, uh, on a team, there are people that would rather engage with like human beings and people that would just rather just kind of like analyze data and see shit. So like, don't let this kind of like stick to your head. It's good to have experience in all of them, but you could also be very selective in how you actually approach your own career or your own kind of like mental design of how you contribute. If current measures exist, the business analyst may leverage them or determine new measures. The business analyst may also elicit assessment measures from stakeholders, of course. Performance measures may be based on deliverables, due dates, and specified in the business analysis plan. All right. Metrics such as frequency of changes to business analysis work products, the number of, these are the KPIs, the number of review cycles required, task efficiency, qualitative feedback from stakeholders and peers regarding the business analyst deliverables, appropriate performance measures enable the business analyst to determine when problems are occurring. You get it. Like, what you're doing is basically kind of like your KPIs are an average that what you want to do better at. Sometimes the average breakages, for example, doing better means bringing it down. Sometimes average kind of like success rates, you want to bring it up and all that good stuff. Measures may be both quantitative and qualitative. Qualitative measures are subjective, basically morale, teamwork, collaboration, stuff like this. So stakeholders' attitudes are the ones that heavily influence this, and perceptions and other subjective criteria. Culture, company culture. Some possible measures are accuracy and completeness. Oh, here. All performance metrics will encourage certain behaviors and discourage others. Poorly chosen metrics may drive behavior that is detrimental to the enterprise as a whole. Yeah, so and all metrics are basically going to influence something to go up or down. If we choose our metrics wrong, and not wrong as in we fucked up, or again, like wrong as in we fucked up, yes, but like, that's why we have these metrics because we get to kind of like we get to reflect on the performance through these metrics. So these metrics are supposed to highlight which direction we're going, probably, or basically the work that we're doing are getting over. So if you're choosing the wrong metrics, then you're probably going to be going in another direction. But that's how you reflect, basically. You kind of like look at them and be like, okay, these metrics are doing this, this, and this. Is this where we want to go or not? All right, so maybe we actually like from a performance perspective, the metrics themselves need a performance assessment. Fucking love it. So, but that's actually the case everywhere, right? Like in everything you do, there's like kind of like that small thing that's probably hidden that you do naturally. But once you reflect on it, it changes, and then everything beyond it, because you're doing it naturally, everything beyond it starts looking different. So, yeah, some possible measures are accuracy and completeness to determine whether the business analyst work products were correct and relevant when delivered, or whether ongoing revisions were needed to gain acceptance by stakeholders, right? Knowledge, assess whether a business analyst had the skills, or so that's an assessment directly to the business analyst. Effectiveness, assess whether business analyst work products were easy to use as a standalone deliverables. As in, like, was the business analyst able to kind of like produce in a way that could be used, right? Like he could be a genius in producing stuff, but the stakeholders can't actually interact with them or whatever, or whoever's receiving them. Or whether they required extensive explanation in order to be understood. Get it? Abstract shit. Organizational support, assess whether we are adequate resources available to complete business analysis. So like here is basically We always have to reflect on whether the organization is supporting us in a way that actually matters or not. Significance. What are we doing? Does it matter? Consider the benefit obtained from the work products and assess whether the cost, time, and resource investment expended to produce the work products were justified for the value they delivered. So basically, whatever it is we're working on doesn't matter. Strategic, look at whether business objectives were met, problems were solved, and improvements were achieved. Amazing. Timelines, evaluate whether business analysts delivered the work on time per stakeholder expectations and schedule. Amazing. Number three, analyze results. Remember, we're still here in the elements side. So the first is performance analysis. The second is assessment measure. And the third one is what? Analyze results. So you're getting shit done. So you analyze results. What are the results? The business analysis process and deliverables are compared against a set of defined measures. The analysis may be performed on the business analysis process, the resources involved, and the deliverables. So you can perform an analysis on the process itself, on the resources involved, and the deliverables. The process itself includes KPIs and all kinds of look at yourself, reflect on others, and how's the team operating, shit like this. Performance may be determined from the point of view of the stakeholders who are the recipients of the business analysis work, naturally. Remember, we're working for people. Not, as much as it is fun, we're working for people. Other times, the personnel manager or the center of excellence may make this determination and provide assessments. All stakeholders may have input in assessing the value of the business analysis work, but organizations may differ in terms of who has the authority to set the targets against which performance is measured. Yay. I'm going to read this again simply because all stakeholders may have input in assessing the value of the business analysis work, but organizations may differ in terms of who has the authority to set the targets against which performance is measured. So basically, you always have to go back to stakeholders, but be careful who has the authority to change something or not. Recommend actions for improvement. Once the analysis of performance results is complete, the business analyst engages the appropriate stakeholders to identify the following actions. Preventive. Once we actually get a result, so we have to check for preventive measures, corrective measures, and improvements. Preventive reduces the probability of an event with a negative impact. Corrective establishes ways to reduce the negative impact of an event. Improvement establishes ways to increase the probability or impact of events with a positive impact. Amazing. These actions are likely the result of changes of the business analysis approach, repeatable processes, and tools. Remember, everything we do has to be documented in a way where it's used in the future. And if it's something that doesn't really isn't actively going to be used, and maybe we have to consider this part here, right? Because we're not only doing the performance significance, by the way, I highlighted significance. Because we're not only working on the performance of the work that we do, we're also working on the performance of how the work is done. We're also working on our own performance when it comes to the work, how we're actually researching, how we're writing, how we're explaining, exploring. All of these are valid options for us to dig around. Guidelines and tools, organizational performance standards. May include performance metrics or expectations for business analysis work mandated by the organization. Again, I think here they should have said the organization that we're working with and our own standards. Because naturally we are an organization in our own. Like any business analyst could do any of these of this work. We're badasses, man. Techniques, brainstorming, used to generate ideas for improvement opportunities. Interviews, used to gather assessment of business analysis performance. Like justifiably, all of these are kind of like, give me feedback kind of style. Item tracking, used to track issues during performance business analysis for later resolution. Lessons learned, used to identify recommended changes to business analysis processes, deliverables, templates, and other organizational process assets that can be incorporated into the current initiative and future work. Metrics and key performance indicators, used to determine what metrics are appropriate for assessing business analysis performance and how they may be tracked. Observation, used to witness business analysis performance. Process analysis, get it? Used to analyze existing business analysis processes and identify opportunities for improvement. Process modeling, used to define business analysis processes and understand how to improve. So process modeling is modeling a process and basically you get to review it. Reviews are direct feedback. Then basically, well, yeah, so all of them are almost just a way for us to understand how our work is seen and whether it actually like makes sense or not. Risk analysis and management. I think that our discretion is very important here because ultimately we have to also decide how we're choosing risk. And we also have to show the people that we're working with how we're choosing risk. The same with reviews. Like, I don't necessarily have to ask the person, like, give me a review. What do you think I'm doing? I would actually point at things that I want reviews about because other things might be very biased to the people that we're working with. Root cause analysis to help find the underlying cause of failures or difficulties in accomplishing business analysis work. Survey or questionnaire used to gather feedback from stakeholders about their satisfaction with business analysis activities and deliverables. Workshops used to gather assessment business analysis performance and generate ideas for improvement opportunities. Before last, stakeholders. Who might be the stakeholders that we're working with? Domain subject matter experts should be informed about the business analysis activities. In order, of course, there are sponsors and project managers. Notice in this one, there are no, in this one, there is no regulation, right? Because ultimately, we're applying the entire performance based on the organization's, basically, whatever the organization thinks has as standards. But anyways, domain subject expert matter, of course, should be informed about the business analysis activities in order to set expectations regarding their involvement. Like if you're doing something and management can do it better, then probably you have to look at management and see how they're doing it better, and then basically come back to yourself. And sometimes the changes that you're doing, you need actual key metrics. So like the people that actually want this data will have to like come to you. Project manager is accountable for the success of a project and must be kept informed on the current status of business analysis work. Naturally, because somebody's managing the project from the company's side, right? From the client's side. Potential problems or opportunities for improvements are identified. The project manager must be consulted before changes are implemented to assess whether those changes will have an impact on the project or not. That only makes sense. They may also deliver, so the performance as well, kind of like once you do the performance assessment, you have to talk to these stakeholders in order to see like whether they're valid or not, or whether they're necessary or not, or how to actually apply them, right? You could be creative on many other hows and whys and whos. They may also deliver reports on business analysis performance to the sponsor and other stakeholders. Sponsor may require reports on business analysis performance to address problems as they are identified. A manager of business analyst may also sponsor initiatives to improve the performance of business analysts. So the sponsor as well, because they're the ones who kind of like have an opinion. And they're the reason why we're working, yay! Outputs, business analysis performance assessment, includes a comparison of planned versus actual performance, identifying the root cause of variances for the expected performance, proposed approaches to address issues, and other findings to help understand the performance of business analysis processes. So the assessment includes a comparison of planned versus actual performance. So we're reflecting on how we saw things at first and actual performance, and we're using that gap in between in order for us to kind of like make decisions in which direction, what to do better, and all that stuff. Identify the root cause of variances from the expected performance, which is basically what I just said. Like you kind of like see why there are changes, if there are changes, and some changes are better than not changes. So like change it. If something is different than planned, it doesn't necessarily mean it's not like on point. It's not positive. Proposed approaches to address issues. Of course, you have to mention that in your assessment, and other findings to help understand the performance of business analysis processes. Super beautiful. And we're done with the chapter, guys. Fucking love you, man. I hope this has been as much fun for you as it is for me. Yay! Yay!